Hello, everybody. This is Jason Samkoviak with the Traditional Bow Hunting and Wilderness Podcast, and I want to take a second and show you some pointers here for picking feathers when you're making your own arrows and some of the differences in feathers. Now, I know that even die cut like these, which you actually buy at the store, these are not done with the chopper. These are actually die cut that I bought in this shape and size already. These are 5.5-inch high back, and they look like the same feathers, and you could use them, and that's all fine and dandy. There is something on here that I want to point out for you too that makes it important when you're selecting for your best arrows for your hunting arrows, and especially if you're going to be hunting extreme conditions and wet weather. And things where you're really hard on your arrows, and that's going to be the length of the actual base of them, the width of the base. Now, for example, this one right here, this is what I call a perfect feather. You can see here, if you look at that, that from the front, which is over here on the front side, you have a good thick base to start with to get your glue and a lot of surface area for the glue to adhere to and to stick to the shaft, and it stays thick all the way to the back. That's what you're looking for, that thickness. Most of them are going to be thick in the front automatically because of the shape of the feathers, which I'll show you. But as they taper towards the back, a lot of times this will thin out. You want to keep this as thick as possible so that you got a good surface for your glue to actually stick to it, a good, so you got a lot of surface area for between the glue and or between the feather and the shaft for the glue to actually hold it on there. Now, as a difference, if you look at this one here, this is a feather from my junk pile. This is what I put just strictly on my practice arrows. Now, if you look at the back of these, and you look at the thickness of that, see how the difference is? See how thick this one is at the back side back here versus how thin this one is at the back side. So there's a lot less surface area on there for the actual glue to grab a hold of to hold it to the shaft. So it's still, they're both still good and thick up on the front side, which is fine, and that's, like I said, that's because of the shape of the feather. But as you go towards the back, you can see how that one thins out pretty good. And so this one, that thinner one like that, this particular one that's thinned out, I throw that into a pile that I use for junk feathers that I put only on practice arrows. For my hunting feathers that I'm going to be using in really difficult situations and, like I'm going to be real hard on them, I prefer to have a good thick base on the back to be able to give me good mounting surface. And then now the same goes for if you're using full-length feathers and you're chopping your feathers or you're burning them or anything you're doing. A lot of people feel that they can get two feathers out of one feather, so they think they can save money with it. And that may be fine and dandy, but again, you have to understand you have that same thing. Real thick in the front for the base, and then it thins out really thin at the back. And that's going to be a factor for you. If you're taking two 4-inch feathers out of here and you're chopping one here and one here, this back feather is going to be so thin on the back here that it's going to be almost useless. So you got to keep that in mind if you're trying to chop two out of there. Make sure after you chop your first one that you have enough base on the bottom to be able to get that to stick good and not have your feather come off on your arrow shaft. I like to choose, I only take one per feather. That's my opinion when I'm chopping them. Now, a lot of people too, when they're doing a chopper or a burn or something like that, they'll just stick it in here and they'll line it up and they'll set it that way like that. And that's not a bad idea, but your best bet for chopping or for burning is to take from the front of the feather. What that's going to do for you is it's going to get you the the part of the feather that has that thickest base on there. So that's what you want to do. You want to set it right on your chopper or whatever you're doing. Make sure that you're evened out all the way across against your blade here, so you're not going to cut it on any odd angles on the front or back. Like that, and then you get it set up like you want. Once you have it where you're after, you go ahead, hit it. There's your feather chopped. Now you have your feather that you can work with. Now some other things, whether they're die cut or they're chopped or whatever method you're using to get it, makes no difference. But a couple of things I like to do before I actually put them on. Notice on the front of these, either the die cuts or on the one I just chopped, look at that point that's on the front of that. Now when that's on that arrow and that glues down, this can get kind of vicious sometimes, and it's real easy for that. It does because there's not much surface on that. That will actually pop up. You end up sticking them in your bow hand. Sometimes if you ride your knuckle too high on the bow, you'll end up sticking that quill into the corner there. And I mean, I've done it countless times. So what I do now to make it where I get rid of that, and also to make it where I get the best surface area for that, what I like to do is I like to cut that right off. So I cut it right off with a pair of scissors like that. Then I like to angle this part back just a slight hair, just like this, which I'll show you, like that. And so it looks like this on the base. And what that does for me is it gives me my good surface area, gives me a good place to stick. It cuts that corner off where that corner is something that could loosen and come free. And then on the very back, I like to do the same thing, just a hair. I mean, just ever so slightly, but I'll just take that little nip right off there. And not enough. It's almost more like just rounding that back corner on there. But this way, there's no chance of that one little edge corner trying to pop up and kick off on you. So again, very, very, very minimal amount taken off. Just more so just rounding it, getting rid of the sharp point. And on this side here too, like I said, I just kind of take it down a little bit. That way it gets rid of the burr and gives you a good base for it to stick on. So, and then just a very, very slight round on the other side too. Again, all you're trying to do is just round those 2 points, all 4 of those points off, just so they're not an actual sharp point on there that's going to give you a point where it's going to be easy to peel up and have it start from. So again, as you can see here by looking at it, all I did is very, very slightly just take the hard edge corners off of all 4 of those so that way there's nothing that can hook and grab onto something and peel that feather back. Gives you much better mating surface. Having a good solid base all the way along to the back will make it where that feather's got a good surface where the glue can hold it to the feather, or hold the feather to the shaft. So these little tips, I know they seem kind of mundane and like real tedious. It's not. It doesn't take long at all to do, but it makes a huge difference for keeping your feathers on your actual shafts. I have some that if they're probably 8-9 years old and the feathers have stayed on them, I haven't had a problem with them ever coming off, and it's all because of taking that minute to do those couple little details. And it's pretty quick. You take this one right here. When I'm ready to put it on, I'll take all 3 of my feathers for that arrow. I don't measure anything for the ends. I just put them all. I take all 3 of them. I line them up like I want, like this, before I put them on my arrow. Make sure the back of them are together, go right across so they're even all the way across down there, cut them like that. Then you take one of them, just hit the tip of it here, make sure that that's rounded there, right like that. Make sure that side's got just a little nip off that corner, make sure that side's got a little chop off of that corner, and then give this side here one on that one as well too, just to get that corner edge right off of there like that. And then you have a perfect feather. You're ready to put it on and start fletching them. So it's really that simple. It's not like it takes long, but it definitely does make a difference. But the key thing, make sure that base length stays the same. If you're using a chopper, you don't want to take this thing like that, set it in here this way, line that arrow up like that, set it on there, hit it, boom, and you're done. And it sounds great and easy, but what you've just done is you've created a base that's too small on the back. You want to make sure that you have that thick base. Don't get too far back into this crap where you start thinning out and you have sorry, out of camera there, but don't start getting into where you have no base on here where you can't actually get the glue to hold. So there's a little tip from you, or for you, about how to set up your fletchings and make them so that they're going to stay on there for you real good. Again, this is Jason Samkovic, the Traditional Bow Hunting and Wilderness Podcast, and thanks for watching. I'll be back with more soon. Talk to you later. Bye.